Hoje eu tô com as ideias de novo. Let's go.
What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be reacting to another video from Joe Semmer. I've reacted once to him before. I believe he's several thousands of hours into doing the DS route for
Oh my god.
Spanish, and I've been requested by my Discord to check this video out. So it's called Studying Grammar Could Make You Worse. But before we begin, before we hit play, make sure you hit that fucking sub button, bro. You guys have stopped subbing recently. I've been warning you at the end of every video. What's going to happen if you don't do that? Well, guess what?
Sorry.
The last 3 days of study that you guys have been doing, it's all gone now. It's all gone. That's your fault for not subbing.
Hey, what's up, guys? In today's video, I want to talk about why grammar could actually make you...
Esse cara aqui é aquele do mais de 4.000 horas de input de espanhol. Esse cara aqui, ó. Review dia você já conhece. Esse cara aqui é o do 4.000 horas.
worse in your target language. I'll talk about how I started learning Spanish, especially because I tried to use grammar in the beginning as well. In the first month, I did a combination of Duolingo, conjugation charts, and trying to put together...
Does Duolingo even teach grammar? My understanding is it doesn't. It basically gives you templates.
O Duolingo ensina a gramática assim, pô. A estrutura. Aí você faz a frase do jeito que você quiser, mas isso ensina assim. Quando você erra muito também no Duolingo, ele vai lá e te dá umas dicas, te dá um textinho lá, ó, você tá errando nisso, tá errada a estrutura.
Which obviously incorporates some type of grammar there, but it just gives you templates and it's like, this is how it works. No, it doesn't even say this is how it works. It goes, here is a template, put it together. And you're just kind of meant to figure out how to slot things together. Like, there's no notes from what I understand. There used to be, but they got rid of them all. So, like, I don't know if you can count Duolingo as teaching grammar. Then again, it's been a long time since I used Duolingo.
Sentences, like through Google Translator. And I realized there's a lot of missing gaps that I had. First off is that the conjugations for different verbs had different accents. So for hablar, you could say hable. So you can say something in the past, like I spoke. And I wasn't able to...
I am 970 hours into dreaming Spanish. I was unaware that that existed. I had no concept of Spanish grammar, okay? The only things I understand about Spanish grammar is usually shit that I've accidentally read in the comments section or someone has just said to me in passing. Apart from that, everything else I recognize from Spanish by just literally context. It's at the point where it's just like, I've heard that sentence in that specific context enough times for me to figure out the entire meaning of that sentence. But even then, sometimes I completely mess it up.
Use the correct...
Ele tá aprendendo full time de comprehensible input, então por isso que ele não, o nível dele não sabe a estrutura. Mas se você mesclar vários métodos, você consegue estudar gramática.
intonation when I would read the word out, because I would just read it with like the accent on the A instead of the E. And that's
Até lendo o livro, é isso mesmo.
because I really haven't heard the language enough for me to know to put the accent on the E where the actual accent is at. Or
Okay, maybe I'm assuming wrong, but before you started dreaming Spanish, because obviously you've done study prior to this, you were aware of that grammar. You were unable to use it in speech, so you're unable to grab the words and then apply the grammar to it in a natural way, it sounds like. But you were aware of the grammar that exists, because you're literally describing something that I am unaware of at the moment, okay? Again, 970 hours into Spanish. I get the feeling that probably the best way to do this kind of, heavy input approach, I'm not talking ALG now, I'm just talking heavy input approach, is to be aware of the grammar and then do your heavy input approach. So, like, I don't know, maybe even just spend a couple hours just reading over a book. You don't have to memorize. I'm not saying go out there and memorize rules. I'm saying just be aware of what exists. Just like have a bird's eye view. That way, when you do listen to hundreds of hours of content, your brain's not starting from literally zero. It has something. It's like, well, I'm aware that there's genders, so maybe I should pay attention slightly to that. Like, not even like consciously. It's just you've given your brain something to hook into. You know what I mean? And the fact that he's talking about, accent markers changing, I guess, the tense. Like, I'm probably going to be hyper aware of that now moving forward. I don't know.
even how to do accents in the language as well. And the fact that the second to last syllable is most of the time stressed in most words. So using conjugation charts and actually making them by hand didn't really help me much because I barely could even say the word afterwards.
Yeah, but it sounds like you were well aware of how the language conjugates. Unable to apply it, but aware of it. I think that makes a big difference at the end of the day. Because when I went into this purposely as part of my experiment, I was not aware of what grammar exists for Spanish. Okay, I was aware to a degree because I've studied Latin before. I'm fluent in Esperanto, so I understand, kind of how the European languages work. I'd heard in passing before, Spanish has genders and it conjugates. Like, the fact that it conjugates was something I was aware of, okay? But I had not studied what conjugations existed. So I was unable to hear those, and I'm still unable to hear them. Like, even to this point. Like, I hear that the endings change in words. I have no idea why they change. That's about it.
And then the worst is when you would try to put them together. You can't really put together language, especially if you don't know first what the word is, how to say it, and also the grammar of the language. And so you might think that, okay, then the actual solution is that you have to learn some grammar. But that's also a misconception because grammar is actually the easy part when it comes to learning a language. The harder part is getting the vocabulary surrounding all of that grammar. And you can see this for yourself. If you know most of the vocabulary in a sentence, you can, for the most part, figure out what's going on in the sentence. And
that is true. Most of the time. I am a perfect example of that. 970 hours into Spanish, don't know the grammar, but I can pick up via context and all the individual words that I know what is going on. I can kind of figure that out. Obviously, if I close my eyes, turn away from the screen, I don't have the visuals, my comprehension will drop probably, but I can figure out generally from context what's going on.
The grammar.
É bem difícil mesmo. E olha que o envolvia 950 horas de input. Eu com minhas 60 horinhas de input, já tô ligado que é difícil.
That's happening in the sentence as well. Also, the context of the situation is also important. And if you're trying to interfere with this process by adding in grammar drills and trying to do exercises where they practice a certain grammar concept, that for the most part has like a lot of exceptions, especially if you look at English. English is a language that has a lot of exceptions to a lot of rules. It's really hard to apply that rule to
Inglês é uma língua de várias exceções e várias regras.
every scenario, because every scenario is different. The context surrounding it is all different as well. And it may be the case that in this context, you have to use a certain form of the verb, but you don't really have to.
Yeah, so you don't need to go out and drill grammar patterns. I would say drill chunks, so specific.
Então, o Vildia tá falando que você não precisa de exercícios. You don't need drill. Exercícios de grammar, isso, de gramática. Você precisa de chunks para você decorar a gramática.
Chunks of the language. I have a whole video on chunks. I'm not going to go over chunks again. Editor, put a link to it over here or something, okay?
How to use chunk to learn new structure.
But like, you might want to. Well, I wouldn't say might. I recommend you do it. In fact, like just based on my own experience, practice chunks. Because they are complete units and thoughts and ideas within the language, okay? And that will help you because then rather than trying to grab like individual words and then bits and pieces over here, left, right, and center and try and slap them together all in the moment, a chunk is just like, well, I know the whole thing goes like this and I can just swap out one part.
To use it for another. Or for example, you have to say a certain word, a connecting word that usually isn't used, but...
Para quem não sabe, questão de chunk que ele tá falando é o seguinte. Em inglês, I like to play. Eu gosto de jogar. I like to seria uma chunk. I like to. O play, como é o ato, eu posso trocar. I like to play. I like to drink. I like to eat. I like to... Aí você troca. Então a chunk é I like. E o restante é que você vai trocar. Mas lógico que você consegue trocar outras coisas. Isso aqui eu estou usando de exemplo. A chunk seria I like. Você pode mudar também. I every day. I study every day. I listen every day. I work every day. Então você pode trocar no meio. São padrões. Chunks são padrões. Enfim, eu sou um péssimo professor, mas é isso. Chunk, padrão.
In that context it is. And I saw this for myself. I was trying to apply
Mas pattern não é padrão. Fica quieto.
English grammar to Spanish. And when I would form together sentences, I would try to mash together words that wouldn't really make sense. And you would know that if you actually listen to the language.
Yeah, but if you practice it also as a chunk, like that entire piece where you keep, because like this happens even with, I've seen in your comment section, what was it, your 2000 hour update or something, where people were saying you're speaking with a very English style of grammar. So even after thousands of hours, you can't avoid it. You literally have to work it out. Like you have to go in there and go, okay, this is a problematic piece. It's fossilized. Whether I like it or not, I'm gonna have to work on that. I got that problem in Chinese. I'm slowly working on it. And it's getting better day by day because I'm doing a lot of hours now.
A lot. So all of the grammar you can learn all just through context. And the main part is just getting the vocabulary and gluing everything together in your mind as you listen to shows and content in your target language. I'll make a caveat that when you get really advanced in a language, maybe grammar could help to actually make yourself aware of a certain concept that doesn't really exist in your native language. For example, something in Spanish is the subjunctive that's not really used in English. But even that, I would argue that if you have enough input in data, you should be able to figure it out. And you won't really need to study that grammar specifically. So it might be a good idea just to make yourself aware that there is a subjunctive in Spanish and that there's accents and that they change the way words are actually said, but trying to apply them.
Okay, so if someone is watching my videos and you're playing with the idea of doing the ALG approach or not, or just a heavy input approach or not, I'm going to disagree with everything he said right now. Please make yourself aware of the grammar. You will save yourself potentially hundreds of hours. I am almost positive about that at this point. You don't have to practice it. You don't have to sit there drilling it. You don't even have to do chunking like I recommended, okay? Just be aware of what exists so that when you're listening, you've given your brain just something to hook into. Because even now, I'm telling you, at 970 hours of no grammar study in Spanish, I am still completely unaware of how words fit together in this language. I feel like...
Sim. O bom, pelo menos eu suponho, não estudei sobre, mas eu vou falar porque é isso. Quando você está num nível muito básico no idioma, eu acho estranho você aprender a gramática focada mesmo, porque você não tem nem nada de base, nada. O bom é do nível, sei lá, iniciante para cima. Nível do zero, eu acho que não seria legal. Talvez confunde mais. Pelo menos para mim, confunde mais quando eu estou no nível 00. Então, se eu estudo gramática agora, hoje em dia, já me ajuda, porque são as minhas dúvidas que a gramática vai me facilitar.
Like, this is just terrible advice. Just overall. Like, sure, you could do this for thousands of hours, 2, 3, 4,000 hours. Eventually your brain will figure it all out. But why make your brain go through all that when you can just speed it up a little bit? Okay, I understand. You don't want to study grammar. You're not a grammar person, okay? You don't want to do flashcards. You don't want to do chunky. You just want to sit there, enjoy, listen to the language. Then watch some videos about grammar in the language at least. Just get an idea. And it will help you along the way, trust me.
Or in real time using rules or certain exercises doesn't really work. When native speakers speak, they don't really think about any rules or anything like that. They just continue speaking. And so if you're stuck 3 sentences behind trying to figure out how to use the subjunctive in this next sentence that you want to say, you'll just get...
Yeah, but we're not native speakers. I don't know why anyone keeps pretending that we're making native speakers with this method. You don't sound like a native. Like, you sound great when you speak Spanish. I've heard you speaking, but you're easily to pick out. You're not a native. Like, I've had natives listen to you, and they're like, you're not a native. This is the problem, okay? I have not found a secondary speaker of a language who sounds like a native to a native, except in some super rare instances where the person has literally lived in that language more than their own native language. They've probably heavily studied phonetics, and they might even be musicians. They're just attuned to sounds, okay? And they've just spent an insane amount of hours in language. So, like, this chasing native thing, like, I get it. We all want to be the best that we can. But if to try and get that little fish way down at the end there, okay, if we have to give up all of this, all this speed that we could get just by literally just being aware of the grammar, just for the hope, the little carrot at the end, that we might sound like a native, I don't think it's worth it.
Get lost and you won't be able to have a fluid conversation with an actual native speaker. All that said, if you guys are interested in one-on-one coaching, you guys can sign up in the description box below and we can figure out a nice custom plan to get you to the next level in your language. Also, if you...
Wait, aren't you like the ALG guy? Wouldn't your advice be just... Bro, sit down, immerse, bitch. I'm not trying to take your clients away. I'm just kind of curious. Like, well, what would the advice be? Bitch, just sit down and listen to more content. Got some good content over here. I got a list of anime I recommend. No, I'm just joking. You know what would be really funny? You know what would be absolutely batshit funny? If by the end of like 2,003 hours of me doing, ALG DS style, imagine if I just came away with like a native sounding Argentinian accent and I've been saying all this shit for like thousands of hours. I'd be like, Awkward. But I just don't see it happening. Like, I'll try my best, but yeah. I don't know why people are just so against grammar. Like, you don't have to memorize it, just be aware. I think I've said what I wanted to say. If you guys like this video, let me know down in the comment section below. By the way,